This is episode number 34 of Hitting for the Cycle. That's Ben Kruse. I'm Ryan Touhey. I have power this time, so hopefully we're able to squeeze in a full episode this week. Ben, how are you doing?
I'm good, Ryan. Glad you have power back on. The Celtics are in the NBA Finals since the last time we talked now, so that's good. And vibes are high. Hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend. I know for me, I was just crazy busy with work, but tried to enjoy it. And so hope you're doing well.
I appreciate that. Hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend as well. And we hope everybody listening or watching us had a nice Memorial Day weekend too. So we got a lot to get into this week. But before we do, we just want to remind everybody to follow Hitting for the Cycle at HFTC ETV. Follow our YouTube link at youtube.com/ETB network. Follow the Hitting for the Podcast, Hitting for the Cycle podcast on whatever platform you get your podcasts. And finally, make sure to subscribe to the Empty the Bench Podcast Network on YouTube and follow me at R297 or follow Ben Kruse at Ben Kruse 144.
Yeah, and this episode, as always, is presented to you guys by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together, everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and social experience, from playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. We'll be doing the NBA Finals and the remainder of Western Conference Finals on Playback, so make sure to tune into that stuff as well.
All right, so we're just going to get into it, and we're going to start with yet another big-name baseball player in Major League Baseball going down with a very serious injury. Ronald Acuna Jr. suffered a torn ACL on Sunday against the Pirates. He was on second base after doubling, and he tried to get back to second base. He had taken a lead off the base, and I think he was either trying to steal third or trying to dive back. But regardless of whatever happened, his knee buckled down on him, and he went down to the ground in pain, and he came out of the game. And eventually, later on, it was revealed that he had torn an ACL, and he's going to be out for the rest of the season and is going to have to undergo surgery. This is Acuna's second ACL injury. This is his right ACL, I believe, this time around. The previous one in 2021 was his left ACL.
Is it the other way around? You might be right, though.
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was his. I'm pretty sure it was his right ACL this time around. But regardless, this is the second time Acuna has had an ACL injury. Acuna, of course, is the reigning National League MVP, and it's just another devastating blow to the Braves, who have just been crushed by injuries this year. Obviously, they've been without Spencer Strider. He's done for the year. Austin Riley has been going through some injuries. The Braves have really struggled in the health department this year. Fortunately for them, they have a lot of depth, and they're one of the most deep teams in all of baseball. And they'll have the guys to help pick up some production during Acuna's absence. But regardless, nobody can replace the caliber player that Ronald Acuna is. The guy stole 73 bases last year, hit over 40 home runs, and losing him in any year is just terrible. And it's really, at this point in the season, almost unfathomable just how many big name ball players have gone down or are out with significant injuries. You put Acuna on this list. Obviously, all the pitchers that we've mentioned before in the past. Obviously, you got guys like Mike Trout, of course, who continues to struggle with injuries. So it's insane how many of these big name ball players are just going down. And it's the end of May. We still have 4 more months left of the regular season. So it's just insane. And you feel for Acuna because he's a great ball player. He's a great talent. And see him go down with another ACL injury. This guy, you wonder if if this is going to impact him, for the long term. I mean, obviously Acuna, he's only 27 years old, but already, I mean, he's blown out both of his ACLs. I mean, you're never going to be exactly the same person you were when you blow out one ACL. So, you know, now he goes down with another one. It's horrible. And you just hope that, I mean, I'm sure he'll come back and I'm sure he'll, still be a great ball player. But man, it's bad for the game when all these guys keep going down with injuries like this. And it sucks. There's really no other way of saying it. And it was a freak injury, too. Another freak injury. It was non contact. He just went down like a ton of bricks. He literally just collapsed. And it's when you see something like this, especially for Brave fans, I'm sure when you see something like this, you go, you got to be kidding me. Like, what does it take for these guys to stay healthy? I mean, I've been very vocal and critical about the way that baseball players train nowadays and how little they stay on the field at times. And so exactly what happened, Acuna was between second and third base, and he tried to reverse the direction back to second, and he just went down. That's basically what happened. And he had to be helped off the field. He couldn't really put any weight on his leg, obviously. So yeah, it's just bad. It's sad, and it's definitely a big blow to the Braves. Like I said, they've already been dealing with enough injuries to begin with, and their deficit in the National League East has been growing by the day, with the Phillies off to the historically fast start that they're off to. So yeah, it's a big blow. Acuna is going to have to undergo surgery, obviously, like I mentioned. I mean, what more can you say other than the fact that it just sucks?
Yeah. I read a report. I think afterward he was out. He was hurt, and I thought that there's a lot of speculation. I think it was a Braves reporter on Twitter. That's saying he might miss a couple months here and there. I'm like, well, it sounds like Braves fans are kind of breathing a sigh of relief, kind of for how considering how bad it looked at the time. And then I was on actually a playback stream, funny enough, and I went on Twitter, really quick to kind of see if there's any other updates about it. And he himself tweeted out something with a crying emoji and a heartbreak, and then pretty much everything else pretty much said Ronald Acuna out, done for the season. And my overall kind of body just kind of stopped for a second. I'm like, this is really happening again. And yeah, I mean, like you're mentioning, this is now his other knee specifically too. It's you just never know if this guy's going to ever be the same type of player he was before. I was fortunate enough to see this guy play. Like I think I told you before, but I was fortunate enough to see this guy play with the Gwinnett Braves. His last AAA game in Pawtucket, funny enough, the AAA team of the Red Sox in Pawtucket, the place where the Red Sox AAA team moved from over to Worcester. And everybody was talking about this guy. I had no idea who this guy was from the hole in the wall, but everybody was talking about, oh, Ronald Acuna was the next big thing kind of coming up. And, it was kind of shown overall in his overall career so far. He's just been one of the best, most electrifying players in the game. There's not a lot of people out there that don't like him. I wouldn't think. I think everybody around baseball loves him, and just the way he kind of goes and plays his game, and it really sucks. It really, really sucks, no matter who it is. But like a guy like him specifically, to just kind of see this kind of freak injury, and like you said, non-contact. Every time I hear non-contact, never good. So yeah, just it really, really sucks, and just wish him well, wish him the best, and hey, you just never know. This could impact him for going into next season too. So hopefully that's not the case. And for the Braves specifically, like you said, they've been impacted by injuries. But if any team specifically kind of overcome this specifically, it's them. I remember when they lost him before, and obviously losing him is a massive, massive loss. But I'm pretty sure the Braves still won 90 plus games without Ronald Acuna Jr. Just how deep overall that team is, and they tend to have a pretty good farm system over there as too, Ryan. So they'll probably bring some guy up from AAA, and he'll probably hit like 15, 20 plus homers. So, it wouldn't surprise me. It's the Braves for you. But regardless of the fact, this is just awful news and awful news for baseball.
Yeah, Acuna has had a history of ACL problems, like we mentioned. This is his second torn ACL, and during his rookie year of 2018, he actually missed some time. He had a mild ACL sprain back in May of 2018 when he first came up. So, unfortunately, this is nothing new to him. For whatever reason, he has just had a history with ACL injuries, and like we mentioned, we'll see if this impacts him down the road. Hopefully, he never has to deal with another ACL injury ever again after this one. I mean, because unfortunately, I never like to think about that case scenario, but God forbid if he has another one down the road. I mean, that's the last thing
I
anybody
just
wants.
toast already.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's terrible, and it's a big blow to the Braves, to their fans, and to the game. But we do wish Acuna all the best in his surgery and his recuperation. So that's that. And now we're going to move to a story that most people are going to be happy about rather than sad about, and that is the retirement of long time Major League Baseball umpire Angel Hernandez. Hernandez is the most recognized, or was the most recognizable umpire in all of Major League Baseball, and that wasn't for good reasons. If people know your name, you know you're doing your job bad, and Angel Hernandez was not necessarily the best umpire there was. His inability to accurately call balls and strikes drove players, coaches, managers, and fans up a tree. It was pretty painful. A lot of his strike calls, these balls were about 5 to 10 feet off the plate. I'm not exaggerating. Believe me, I've watched enough baseball to know what you're going to get with Angel Hernandez. He has really just been a pain in the butt for Major League Baseball for a while now. A couple of years ago, he actually sued Major League Baseball for racial discrimination. Um, and obviously, he lost that case. And he just really has not been in the good graces of baseball or its players. Many baseball players have been very vocal about Hernandez. Just to name a few, CC Sabathia hated having him behind the plate. I actually remember Game 4 of the 2018 Division Series between the Yankees and the Red Sox. Hernandez, I believe, was the home plate umpire, if I'm not mistaken. And within the first two batters, Sabathia was already having a fit with Hernandez because he was just not calling, I guess, the corners or whatever. And it was that's just one instance. There are plenty of other instances. But he obviously, Sabathia was not a fan. Bryce Harper certainly wasn't a fan of Hernandez. I remember last year in September, Hernandez egregiously called Harper out on a check swing that was nowhere near a check swing. Harper lost his mind. Hernandez ejected him. Harper got in his face and then threw his batting helmet in the stands. So that's another incident. But Hernandez was around baseball for a long time. He made his debut in the early 1990s, and he just was a very, very controversial figure in Major League Baseball. There have been a lot of umpires who've been controversial over the years. You got guys like Joe West and Eric Gregg, and Hernandez is up there. He's up there as one of the most controversial figures to ever step foot on a baseball field who's not a baseball player. But unfortunately, Hernandez really thought that he was as big a part of the game as the way I see it. He thought he was as big a part of the game as the guys who are on the field or the guys who are managing or coaching the game. Even I think he definitely just got himself in the thick of things way too much. Hernandez had started his career back in 1991 before interleague play began, and he kind of overstayed his welcome, to be honest. He rarely worked postseason. He's rarely worked postseason games for the past couple of years. He was very vocal about not being selected to work World Series games. In 2006 and in 2011, he was listed as the third worst baseball umpire in Sports Illustrated player polls. So this guy just was just not liked by really anybody around the league. And the only guys who really came to his defense when he got involved in hot water of any kind were fellow umpires. But even those guys were kind of limited with what they had to say. And a 2010 ESPN survey showed that 22% of Major League ball players identified Hernandez as the worst umpire in the league. So, yeah, his reputation is not necessarily the best one. But regardless, he still had a long career. I mean, he still was an umpire longer than many other guys were who were umpires. But regardless, I know that I'm not shedding a tear about this. I know a lot of other people are not shedding a tear about this. So all I got to say is thanks for your service, but it was overdue. Please get out of here.
Yeah, this story kind of, there's just so much going on, just for myself, but just other stuff in general. And just this story just kind of got overblown for me. And I look at that and I played the song Hallelujah right after I saw that news because, man, oh man, this was, like you said, this was long overdue. Obviously, when a lot of people retire, it's usually not. It's sad and it's obviously very, touching and stuff like that. This is one specifically where, sayonara, Kai. Obviously, for him specifically, for the fact that he was around for as long as he can, just speaks for itself. He obviously, he did his best. Obviously, he was around the league calling games, but like you said, I mean, just seeing here that Hernandez was the most MLB's least accurate umpires according to umpire scorecards. The website, which tracks the pitches called by each game caller behind the plate and how it compares to the expected strike zone, gave him a pitch count accuracy of just 93.2%, ranked 67th among the 85 umpires call games thus far in 2024. So essentially, the accuracy is 93.2, the consistency is at 93. So essentially, the expected call differential was only at -5.5. So essentially, he was pretty much ranked right at the lowest consistency. Just to even be like right at the consistency mark, he was pretty much within that range. And I would say like most of the umpires that are pretty accurate, probably in the high 90s, like 96 plus. So yeah, I mean, him just specifically, like you said, there were so many games that I saw with the Red Sox that, he would be calling, and even the reporters I'd be listening on TV like, oh, Angel Hernandez, behind the plate, and it's just like, it sucks, because it's like, you just want to see obviously the guys play and play fair and square. But when you see a guy like him, you know for a fact that one of your teams is going to get fucked over regardless. Even it's bad enough specifically when you have like team specifically on your team where he calls like a strike three on the other teams that are like, really? They really call that a strike? And it's just like, one of your teams kind of gets fucked over kind of the way that it makes it happen. So, yeah. Apparently there was a report that they fired him, but because the MLB umpire union, they allowed him to make it look like a retirement. Yeah, just absolutely crazy that it went this far. And like you said, it was long overdue. Best of luck to Angel in terms of what he does for retirement. I will say that. But besides that, I mean, I'm so happy he's not calling games anymore. It just he had to be moved on at some point.
Yeah, anytime you saw his name listed as one of the umpires in a broadcast, you were thinking to yourself, I wonder what he's going to do tonight or today. That's going to lead to people getting pissed off. Because I can't recall watching one game with him involved in some capacity where somebody was not mad at him, where somebody was not mad at him. Almost always he made at least a couple of calls where somebody got in his face or something or yelled at him saying, what the hell are you doing? It was every single day. One other memory that I have of Hernandez was a couple of years ago during the final game of the 2021 season between the Yankees and the Rays. Gio Urshela made an insane catch running towards the third base dugouts. And his momentum carried him into the Rays dugouts. He literally tripped into the dugout. And as soon as he trips into the dugout, Hernandez flies into the dugouts. He literally did a flip over the railing onto the bench and emphatically called Gleyber Torres out. And I'm like, dude, come on.
That's so bad. I don't even know. I really recall the play. I don't remember Hernandez physically actually doing that though.
You watch it closely, you'll see a pair of legs fly over the railing and into the dugout.
I'll definitely watch it for sure.
Yeah, and Hernandez only worked 10 games last year. That's hard to believe. And Sports Illustrated reported that Hernandez missed 161 calls, and his strike zone accuracy in the September 14th game between the Pirates and the Nationals was the worst by an umpire in the last 5 years. And during the 2016 through 18 seasons, Hernandez's calls at first base, hit him at first base and at home and behind home plate, was just a nightmare. His calls at first base were overturned in 14 out of 18 video reviews, and that's a 78% overturn rate. And that exceeded the 60% overturn rate for all first base calls by all umpires during that time period. So, yeah, it was the situation was just getting worse and worse. And Hernandez obviously is not getting any younger. When it comes to Major League Baseball umpires nowadays, a lot of these guys, I think there should be an age limit, to be honest with you, for when guys can continue to call baseball games. I feel like once guys reach their 60s or whatnot, I think you got to start considering like retirement for most of these guys. Obviously your body changes, your vision worsens as you get older as well, and you know you don't get any younger. It just becomes harder and harder to stand out there, for 9 innings every single day. I just feel like there has to be an age limit for umpires, if you ask me. I think there should be a cap on that. But
Definitely.
and Hernandez is in his early 60s, so I think if it's good for both sides. Obviously, it's good for baseball, and honestly, for Hernandez's sake, I think it's good for him to get away from all the bad publicity that he's already received, and just relax, enjoy the rest of your life in whatever capacity you want to do. So, yeah. So, Angel Hernandez, after all the drama, after all the turmoil, after all the nonsensical, horrible calls that he's made over the years, is finally retired. So, you know, from one man to another. Hope you enjoy your retirement, but we're not necessarily going to miss you.
No, and he can make all the wrong calls now all he wants without getting scrutinized. So he
Yes.
can have fun with that.
Good point. So yeah, Angel Hernandez retires. And now we're going to get into a topic that I think is going to be heavily debated. Major League Baseball has integrated Negro League stats into the historical record books. Now, this is a significant move, and it's quite unprecedented, if you ask me. Many people would claim that this is overdue, that this should have happened long ago. I can see why people feel that way, but for me personally, I'm not necessarily a fan of this. Now, don't get me wrong. The baseball players in the Negro Leagues, they were some of the greatest baseball players ever. One guy, obviously, who played in the Negro Leagues was Josh Gibson, one of the greatest baseball players ever. He's a member of the Hall of Fame. But because Major League Baseball is now implementing these stats into the record books, he now has the highest career batting average, surpassing Ty Cobb. And I'm sorry, I'm just like, I Cobb played Major League Baseball. Gibson was in the Negro Leagues. Now I understand, there was those two leagues. Jackie Robinson came in and broke the color barrier in 1947. Believe me, I understand that this is a sensitive issue. These guys should have played Major League Baseball. Gibson should have been in the major leagues. I am not denying that. But still, it's the way it was back then, unfortunately. And I just think that you can't overlook what Cobb did or what any of these other guys did and just rewrite history. I feel that baseball's history should be, preserved to in all capacity. I know people are going to disagree with me on this. Obviously, there are two sides to this, and I respect the way that people feel. But I would have kept these stats separate from Major League Baseball. They were not the same league. It was a different league. To me, this would be the equivalent of counting Japanese league baseball stats to Major League Baseball stats. There's only one Major League Baseball, and if you want to recognize the Negro Leagues in the Baseball Hall of Fame or whatnot, that's what you should do. The Negro Leagues definitely need to be recognized by the Baseball Hall of Fame. There were some great players. It's the National Baseball Hall of Fame, not the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. And you can also, recognize, the greatest Japanese players of all time, put that in the Hall of Fame as well. It's like I said, it's National Baseball Hall of Fame. So recognize the game all you want in that respect. But in terms of statistics, you got to keep it separate, in my opinion. You can't just, in my opinion, take a separate league and throw it into another league and then just rewrite everything and say, no, this person now has the most hits in history, this guy has the highest average in history. It's a tricky subject, and like I said, I know there are two sides to this, but I'm not personally a fan of this. I don't know where you stand on this necessarily.
Yeah, I'm not really the biggest aware person, but when it comes to Negro League, obviously, I know what it is, like in terms of the actual league itself, but like, my overall knowledge mostly, of course, is Major League Baseball. So of course I know John Gibson, obviously, like you mentioned, that there's some guys in that league. I do agree though with you specifically. I think that when you look at historical record books specifically, they could obviously kind of honor them specifically in different other ways, specifically to kind of, show kind of what they've had in the past with the stats, because they should be getting recognized. I'm obviously not denying that. But when it comes to record books specifically, you look at a lot of guys in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and obviously just guys specifically that should be getting honored. Now they might be impacted because you have a couple players from the Negro League not putting their stats into the Major League, and now you could be looking specifically at maybe some differences when it comes to voting. Now because you have some guys, you know, down the road maybe here where they're playing from the Negro League, and now you can maybe have a split decision of, oh well, should they be getting not only honored in the Negro League but also in Major League Baseball as well too. So there might be some. I'm not saying some chaos, some and I'm not really kind of saying some trouble here, but what I'm saying is there might be some controversial kind of coming in at some point where when you essentially kind of bring one type of league to another league, especially when it comes to record books and stuff like that. There's obviously going to be already kind of you know conversations and controversial stuff as is with some players here and there. So yeah, I think they should have kept it private. Personally, I think that MLB should just keep overall the players that played in Major League Baseball with their overall records. The Negro League kind of having their own personal records in their league, but they could still get honored, just not specifically the switch from one to the other, because I think that there's going to be some conflict down the road with something like this.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's just not fair. Um, and like I said, like we both said, you gotta appreciate and understand and respect the guys who played in that league. And it was the way life was, unfortunately, back then. And like I said, a lot of these guys in the Negro leagues should have been in Major League Baseball. Gibson would have torn up the major leagues if you ask me. He's one of the greatest ball players ever. But it was just the way that it was. And Rob Manfred, baseball's commissioner, and I'm reading this off of ESPN. He said, in regards to this, Manfred said this initiative is focused on ensuring that future generations of fans have access to the statistics and milestones of all those who made the Negro Leagues possible. All right, that's great, but there are other ways to do it, not like this, if you ask me. Not by combining these stats with major league stats, or throwing these in with major league stats, I guess you should say, because like I said, now you're kind of rewriting history here. And Gibson's career average was 372. Ty Cobb's is 367. But Cobb was in Major League Baseball and Gibson was in the Negro Leagues. Those are different. Those are different things. It's not the same thing. That's why I have a problem with this. It's not the same league. They're not facing the same pitchers. It's different levels of competition too. I don't know. I wasn't around during this time period, obviously. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm trying to be careful, obviously with what I'm saying, because like I said, there are people who would disagree with me on this topic, and I don't want to, say that you're wrong for feeling the opposite way that I do. But I'm not a fan of this. I don't like the fact that they are counting these towards major league records. I think you got to keep Major League Baseball records as the way they were or are, I guess. But it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. I mean, I'm not working in the commissioner's office or anything like that. I mean, if this is what they want, fine. I'm not a fan of it, and that's basically where I stand on this. So yeah.
Yeah, same way here. I just think specifically that they can just honor them in their own kind of separate part. They could even honor them in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I don't care, by all means. They should be getting recognition regardless. Definitely deserved. Because like you said, there should be some guys in the Negro League that should be playing in Major League Baseball, and they still would be putting up great stats. But you don't essentially bring, at least personally, at least my overall opinion, you don't really want to bring records from one league to another because you just know for a fact that obviously people aren't going to agree on everything. It's obviously part of life. But, something like this, when it comes to stats and it comes to record books, I think there's going to be some type of, stuff that will be impacted between both leagues down the stretch where it might have not have been a conflict that was going to be needed, but they put themselves essentially in this position for to make this happen. So we'll see where it goes. Like we said, we're not, guys, commissioners, we're just fans of baseball, but we could obviously give our own opinions in terms of how we feel though.
I mean, this was heavily debated over for a long time. There was a lot of discussions and talks about whether or not that this should happen. And I think part of it for the reason for this happening is I think Major League Baseball just kind of gave in to some of the pressure put in from the other side and for money. Yeah. So
It all comes down to money too. Everything.
that's what it boils down to more than anything else. And I think I think they also think that they are, expanding the game and growing the game. Teaching about the Negro Leagues is a valuable part to baseball.
Yeah.
It obviously should be taught, but just not like this.
Right.
You can also visit the Negro League Hall of Fame in Kansas City too.
Mm-hmm.
That also is a very important part in understanding baseball history. They do a great job of preserving the league history there, and they're in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. They also make sure they give recognition. And hell, like I mentioned, there are some guys from the Negro Leagues who are in the Baseball Hall of Fame and deservedly so. And yeah, but overall, I don't like the fact that they are counting these as Major League Baseball stats. It was not Major League Baseball. And yeah, but that was the way it was, unfortunately. So, but yeah, that's a story for another day. So, moving on, Blake Snell. He had he mentioned in an interview a couple of days ago that he wished he had signed sooner, and he emphasized the importance of spring training. Now you realize it, huh? Now you realize it. Now, obviously, Snell and his agent Scott Boras obviously pushed their luck this past offseason, trying to get an absurd 9-year, $200+ million free agent contract offer after Snell won his second Cy Young award. But you look more closely at his stats; they don't necessarily jump off the page, and as much as they should. And Snell, obviously, as good of a pitcher as he is, he definitely has some flaws in his repertoire. And obviously, that the reason for that is because he does have a tendency to walk a lot of people. We talked about that during the off season. But I just find this, when I heard him say this, I just chuckled. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, no crap, Sherlock. Obviously. Holy Moses, we were telling you guys over the offseason, or reporters were saying during the offseason, you better sign or else you're gonna get rocked. And guess what? He signed late and he got rocked. He is sporting a very hideous ERA for the Giants to begin this season. To me, there's nothing more frustrating than well, there are many things actually that I find more frustrating actually, so maybe not, but I find it's so frustrating when a baseball player shows up late to the regular season when they were healthy, for whatever reason is. I mean, if it's a personal reason, if you had like a death in the family or something like that, that's a different story. But
Yeah.
for something like this, like a contract disputes or contract negotiations, that infuriates me. Like that's inexcusable right then and there. And I mean, Snell really has nobody to blame but himself and Boras in this regard. So, you're not really going to get any sympathy from anybody in this. I know he wasn't asking for sympathy, but like, I mean, what did you expect? That's what I was thinking. And yeah, I mean, Snell and Boras, like I mentioned, they wanted 9 years and $270 million. It's absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. Not many pitchers get a deal of that magnitude. And Snell is a good pitcher. He's not a great pitcher.
Mhm.
I don't know how many times people have said that about him. Boras was trying to sell him as this monumental generational pitcher that everybody should be dying for.
Mm.
So, blow out your money and give it all to us. Like, no, like that ship has sailed. So, I mean, I don't really know what else I can say about this, other than, yeah, of course, dude. What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, I have no sympathy for Blake Snell whatsoever. I remember me and you were talking first couple episodes. Legitimately, when is this guy going to sign? Right?
It's
And
ridiculous.
what? Yeah, and like I said, I bet he's a great guy. I bet he's like I said, he's been a great pitcher all along. But I'm looking at his overall stats right now. He's 0-3, 10.42 ERA. Ryan, he hasn't even gone past 5 innings yet in 5 starts. He has not gone past 5 innings. And maybe the first couple starts, you can maybe understand. Well, he kind of started late. He's just trying to get his overall routine kind of going. Like the first start, he only went kind of 3 innings, but they're kind of probably getting his pitch count within a certain range. This guy, man, has not gone past 5 innings yet. And now he's just saying, "Oh, wish you want to sign sooner." I'm just looking at Jordan Montgomery, and Montgomery signed before him or after him?
He
Was it
signed after him.
after him? Well, he's not bitching at all because currently right now he's 3-2 with a 4.69 ERA, but at least he's gone most of his starts have been 6+ innings. So, you know, I think for a guy like him specifically, for some guys, they just need specifically spring training, to pitch. And like you said, unless there was like a death in the family, which I think everybody would understand specifically why, or, just personal reasons, maybe with family here and there, I get it. But over a contract dispute, and now essentially you want to say, oh, what could have, should I wish I signed earlier. Yeah, spring training. People think that, oh, it's just, you can go and you know, uh, Matt Chapman, obviously, Cody Bellinger, they've been fine, but Scott Boras was making these core four guys out to be the next best thing since sliced bread, and it's just not. So yeah, I think with this specifically, I have no sympathy, my guy, at all. I'm sorry. You just kind of put yourself into this position, and now this is what happens. So, I mean, I know it's only 2 months into the season, right? And I think he started probably halfway through April. So, of course, I bet his stats are going to get better. But, you know, at this point in time, nobody's going to feel bad for you. Um, yeah, you definitely need that spring training in your overall system because you face live batters, you face you're probably able to work your pitch count up consistently, and he just didn't have any of that because he was, worried about a contract. And I know some obviously people want to have their contract paid in there, but I know that obviously we're on your Yankees, we're taking a look at him, and you're probably a little bit on the release side that this this didn't really happen because you probably wouldn't have been going great with that. And you look at a guy like Nalik or Don, who's pitched all right so far. So, he's kind of bounced back. And, I think a lot of teams that wanted Blake Snell, Giants fans now are like, really? Like, this is the guy we really signed up for. He's supposed to be their number 2 behind Logan Webb. And he's not even cracked yet 5 innings yet. So,
well, maybe things would have been differently. Maybe he wouldn't have had as bad numbers as he has if he took that contract with the Yankees. I mean, I thought that was a good offer for him. I'm sure he's kicking himself more and more every day with that he didn't sign that contract. But I thought that offer that the Yankees gave him was more than enough. Maybe a little more than he deserved, to be honest with you. I think it was like 6 years, and I forget the number. I think it was like 6 years, 140 million, something like that,
Mhm.
or around that area. I'm probably wrong, but I think it was around that range. The original Boras quote that Scott Boras had in regards to Blake Snell was that he said that Blake Snell has $30 million a year for a couple of years to go out and just show durability. Blake Snell doesn't have to go out and win the Cy Young every year. He's an extraordinary pitcher. Extraordinary is not the right word, in my opinion, to describe Blake Snell. Extraordinary is for guys like Pedro Martinez, Randy Johnson, Greg
Roger
Maddux,
Clemens.
Clayton Kershaw, Garrett Cole, so on and so forth.
Yep.
Blake Snell does not fit that category. Sure, he has 2 Cy Young awards, which is impressive. I'll give him that. I can't take that away from him. But, yeah, the Yankees offer was 6 years, 150 million, so I was 10 million
That's
off.
great. It's a really good
Yeah.
offer.
I thought that's more than I think that was a very fair deal, if you ask me. And if Snell took that deal, he probably wouldn't be. I don't think he would have had as bad numbers as he has right now with the Giants. And there's a reason why pitchers and catchers report to spring training earlier than position players.
Mhm.
And, it takes longer for them to get ready for the season, and they push themselves more on the field than any other player does. So, well, maybe the catcher, I guess. But yeah, it's like we said, what are you gonna do, dude? You were the one who got greedy, and you had to settle for this contract. It cost yourself a couple of weeks of the regular season, and now you're sitting here with some pretty bad numbers. You're still getting paid, $30 million, this year. So at least you got that. That's what they wanted. So at least you got that. But they didn't get the years that they wanted, obviously, and no sympathy. No sympathy at all.
Nope.
So now we're going to go to Scott Boras. Boras had an interesting quote in regards to Juan Soto being traded to the Yankees during the offseason, claiming that the Old Padres ownership group wouldn't have allowed Juan Soto to be traded to the Yankees in the offseason. So I'm just looking at this tweet right here. So I'm just looking right here. So obviously Juan Soto got traded to the Yankees if you've been living under a rock. So that happened during the offseason. And I'm reading this article from The Score. This is from Brian McWilliam. Boras said that the late Padres owner, Peter Sadler, I think is
Peter Ziegler. Yeah, that's
Peter Sadler, rest his soul. He said that Sadler would never have traded Juan Soto to the Yankees if he was still around. And Boras said that he had talked with Sadler throughout his illness. Sadler unfortunately passed away from cancer last year. And he said that, Boras said that Sadler said to him that we're going to sign him and we're going to get this done. And we understand what he means to the organization. And yeah, I mean, when I saw this quote, I was just thinking to myself, all right, well, so what? I understand that, you had a relationship with Sadler. I guess this is just a tactic for Boras to try and pressure Hal and Cashman to go all out and try and lock up Soto for an absurd amount of money and an absurd amount of years, which they've already claimed that they're willing to do. Hal even said that I'm gonna have to reduce payroll in order to get him.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not really thinking too much about this quote, to be honest with you. Boras is always going to say something to get the fan base riled up, to get the owners, to get whatever ownership group riled up, to make sure that he gets what he and his clients want more than anything else. That's the job of an agent to begin with. So that's the way that I feel about this. I don't know if that would have been the case if Sadler was still alive. It may have been. It may have been not. We'll never know. The Padres, were facing some financial difficulties going into last year. So, if you were going to lock up Soto long term, you've got a lot of guys who are locked up long term too. You got Bogarts, who's he's locked up long term in San Diego. He's got 10, 13 years there.
Yeah, that contract right now is
not looking good.
Awful. And I love Bogey, but yeah, not looking good for them.
Yeah, the Padres had to take out a $50 million loan just to keep the payroll secured. So I don't know if that would have been the case, honestly. I really don't know if they would have been able to keep Soto. Either that, or they would have had to make a lot of trades.
Yeah.
So
Tatis maybe.
Tatis probably would have been gone.
Cronenworth.
What's that?
Cronenworth.
Oh, Cronenworth definitely would have been out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
And that might not even been enough.
Yeah. Manny?
Yeah. Yep. Maybe Manny.
Maybe. I mean, they would have had to sacrifice a lot of guys in order to sign Soto. Plus, I mean, if you ask me, before they could keep Soto, they would probably have to cut some of these guys beforehand. So they would have to, make all these trades. And if during the time when they're making all these trades, who's to say that another team wouldn't have made a good offer to Soto, and Soto would have signed there.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, like I said, Boras is an agent, so of course he's going to say something like this. I think he's just trying to be a little competitive and try and get Soto a head start in the negotiating table before the end of the season. But we've already mentioned that we don't see Soto signing during the season. He's going to be a free agent at the season's end.
Did you see the comments by him, by the way? Soto's comments before the Padres series, how he said that he is open to anybody when it comes to negotiations. Like he's supposed to say that. And I see Yankee fans are like, oh, freaking out, like, oh, Hal, please do it, this and that. What was he going to say? Let's be real. Like, he wasn't going to say on the spot, I'm saying a long-term contract with the Yankees. Like, this is essentially a leverage play for him to his agent to say, well, all of the teams essentially can make an offer. Even the team like the Marlins and the Rockies probably can make an offer for all we know. But let's be real in terms of when it comes all said and done, the two teams that are probably going to make the highest offers is the two teams that are going to be right in New York. Or even the Phillies. Because the Phillies, obviously, they have Harper, they have Turner, some guys that he's maybe played in the past for. Yeah, exactly. Right here, Ryan, if you want to give us the quote.
Yeah, so Soto said we're going to be open to listening to anybody and everybody. We're not closing any doors. Whoever wants to talk about deals, I'm open. I mean, like you said, what else is he going to say? I mean, obviously, I would love to hear him say, I want to be a Yankee for life. I'd like to hear any ball player say, I want to be a Yankee for life, but that's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah, they're not going to say it right on the spot, so.
Soto got traded to the Yankees. He didn't voluntarily sign with them as a free agent. So he's gonna play the season. Enjoy having him. I'm gonna enjoy having him while he's here at least. I'm not getting cocky or anything. I don't know if he's gonna re-sign here. I obviously would love it, but it is what it is. That's this is the nature of baseball. There's a reason free agency exists. You're not tied to one team. So for all the Yankee fans who are losing their minds or marbles about whether or not they're gonna lose Juan Soto, just take it easy, take a breath, just relax. You're fine. Okay. Just enjoy having him for this year. Don't worry about the offseason until it comes. And if you sign him long-term, great. If not, you know what? You move on. That's basically all there is to it. This does not have to be rocket science. I mean, just enjoy having him because not a lot of ball teams have a player like this throughout their history.
Definitely.
So yeah, that's that. And to wrap it up, we'll just go around the league, just like we usually do, just talk about where every team is in the standings right now, what we've seen and what we've liked and what we don't like. So as of the day of this recording, it is May 29th, 2024. It is a Wednesday, and it's crazy to think that we're already 2 months into the baseball season. It's absolutely, It's crazy. The season is just flying by. And on this day, we'll go around the league. So in the American League East, the Yankees lead the division by a game and a half over the Orioles. The Yankees took 2 out of 3 over the weekend in San Diego and dropped the first game of a 3-game series in Anaheim, of all places, last night. So that was a pretty ugly loss. Their defense has been shaky recently, so hopefully they clean that up. The Orioles played your Red Sox yesterday. The Orioles got their 5-game win streak snapped. I don't like the Red Sox, but thank you for beating them. They're right on our ass.
Of course, as they say sometimes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So we were able to give you guys a justice because you guys had to just lose last night to the Angels, which you just love to see, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But the Orioles. I mean, they were playing nobody. I mean, they played the White Sox for 4 games over the weekend, and as expected, they swept the 4-game series. One of those games was very controversial with an Andrew Benintendi pop up, and
Yes.
Andrew Vaughn got called out for interference at second base, which was a completely stupid call.
Mm.
Actually, I still think the White Sox would have lost that game anyways because the White Sox are just absolutely god awful. So I mean, when I saw that the Orioles were facing the White Sox that week, and I was like, come on, like I knew they were gonna get swept, and they actually put up some fights in that series.
That's good.
But of course, they didn't win any games in accordance to the prophecy. So yeah, the Red Sox are in third at 28 and 27, a game over 500. You guys just love going up and down, over 500, under 500.
Yep.
500, under 500.
It's the life of a Red Sox fan in the last 4 or 5 years. It's mediocrity, right to average. There's just no in between. You're not great. You're not awful. You're just there. That's us.
Tampa's in fourth at 26 and 29. They have really struggled recently, and I'm happy to see it. And in last place are the Blue Jays at 25 and 29. Blue Jays actually have been playing somewhat better, but not great.
They just play the White Sox, right?
They're playing the White Sox again, so this is their chance to get back out of the cellar. They had a really tough weekend in Detroit. They lost a really heartbreaking game on Sunday, 14-11, where they came back from 2 4-run deficits. But of course, they couldn't hold on to the lead because what bullpen is going to hold on to a lead like that after fighting back? In the American League Central, Cleveland just continues to rake. They are 37 and 18, and they are just unstoppable almost right now. Good for them. But right on their tail are the Royals, who have fallen back a little bit. They've lost 3 in a row. They are 34 and 22, but the Royals are still playing very good baseball. Twins have been playing better. They're up to 6 games over 500 at 30 and 24. Tigers have won 3 in a row. They are 26 and 27, and of course the White Sox, like we mentioned, dead last, lost 7 in a row, 15 and 41.
Jeez. They haven't cracked 20 wins yet, right?
No. They haven't even cracked 16. So, yeah.
Oh.
In the American League West, the Mariners lead the charge at 30 and 26. They are the only team above 500 in this weak division. The defending world champion Tigers, holy Moses, what is this, 1984? The defending world champion Rangers, 26 and 29, have actually won 2 in a row. But still do not look anywhere near the team that they were last year. Astros are in third at 24 and 31, so they've kind of cooled off again. Every time you think that they're going to pick it up, they kind of shoot themselves in the foot, which is what I hope they do for the whole season.
I don't feel bad.
You think I feel bad? Fourth place, Oakland A's, 23 and 33. And in last place, the Angels, 21 and 33, took a win against the Yankees. I'm embarrassed. This is going to bother me until tonight. National League East, Phillies, 38 and 18, 20 games over 500. Absolutely unstoppable force of a baseball team right now. The Braves, 31 and 21, 5 games back. The Braves are a very good team. They have not been playing bad baseball at all. It's just that the Phillies have just gotten off to a crazy start this year. So,
and they just lost Acuna for the year, so it's going to be a little bit tougher for them to try to win the division now.
Yep. Nationals have fallen back to earth. They are 24 and 29 in third. Mets have just had a hard time closing out games. Edwin Diaz got removed from the closer role for a couple of days. Actually got put back in the closer role over the weekend against the Giants, and in accordance to the prophecy, blew the save. And the Mets have lost the first 2 games of this critical series that they have with the Dodgers, and things are not looking nice in Queens right now.
Well, Frank Fleming is losing his goddamn mind if he hasn't already. R.I.P. to him there.
I don't know how much more he can lose his mind.
Eventually, he's going to have to stop ranting.
Yes. And in last place, of course, are the Marlins at 19 and 37. National League Central, Brewers lead the charge at 31-23. They were almost no hit last night by the Chicago Cubs and Ben Brown. The Cubs are only a game over 500 at 28-27, but are 3.5 back of the division lead. The Cardinals have actually been playing some pretty good baseball. They're 8 in their last 10, and they're only a game under 500 at 26-27. Let's see if the Cardinals can keep it up and get back to respectability. That'd be nice to see. So they're in third. Pirates are 25-29. They're in fourth. And the Reds are in fifth at 24-31. And then in the National League West Division, the Dodgers are leading the charge at 35-22, although they've been scuffling a little bit, although they've won the first 2 games of this series against the Mets. But they got swept over the weekend by the Reds. So they actually were struggling a little bit here. But maybe they playing the Mets is the medicine that they need to right the ship.
Yeah.
That's probably exactly what they needed. The Giants have actually moved into second place in the National League West. The Giants have been playing very well. They are 29-27, so they're back over 500, and they're starting to move up in the division. The Padres are in third at 30-28, so they've played one more game than the Giants have. But obviously with more losses than the Giants have, they're in third. In fourth place are the defending National League champion Diamondbacks, who are still a big disappointment this year at 25-29. And then in last place, of course, are the Rockies, who are continuing to be their own avalanche at 19-35. So that's where the standings sit on May 29th, 2024. We'll see where all these teams end up moving forward. I don't know if you have anything that you want to add on before we wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the standings check there. Red Sox report of the week, just pretty much, very up and down. They lost 2 of 3 to the Brewers. Wasn't pretty. I mean, they're able to salvage. Ryan, fun fact, the Red Sox, they're undefeated on Sundays. So the Lord essentially is with the Red Sox, at least for one day of the week. I can guarantee you I was at my country club's pool party on Sunday, and I was watching this game I really wasn't watching. I was kind of following it. And I'm like, well, the Red Sox won. What did they do? And then I saw everybody essentially tweeting out that the Red Sox are undefeated on Sundays. So I can guarantee you, if I try to go to the game, by the way, which is on Sunday, we'll see. I wouldn't want to break the curse. So maybe I maybe just stay home and see how that unfolds possibly. But that is a fun fact for you of the week. And then, obviously we'll see how this Orioles series goes. I mean, they had a really good one last night. Bayo, kind of similar on like he did against Tampa. He just had really one bad awful inning, but he was able to give us at least 5-6. Alex Cora said he almost got scratched last night because he wasn't feeling great. So the fact that he won even that deep was actually pretty impressive. Rob Refsnyder continues to be a great lefty killer. Gotta love Robbie. And Billy Abreu is continuing to mash baseballs. We did well against Grayson Rodriguez last night. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball, so that was pretty impressive. But tonight we go against Corbin Burns, so I'm not expecting much there. So
have fun.
That's your Red Sox report for the week.
Have fun with that. We'll see how they do tonight. And that'll wrap it up for this week's episode of Hitting for the Cycle. On behalf of Ben Kruse, I'm Ryan Touhey. We'll see you next time.